Hello, this is Mr. Ayazuddin S Khan from Pune, Maharashtra State, India. We have before us the basket of basic things about Income Tax Act 1961. From this basket, today we would pick up two basic things for our discussion and knowledge. So, these two basic things are first, previous year, and second, assessment year. These two phrases are very important for taxpayer as well as income tax department, as well as assessing officer, that is income tax officer, who is also called assessing officer if asked to do the work of assessing officer, and courts, Supreme High Courts and Supreme Courts. So for all these people, these two phrases are very important. So let us look at them. First, we'll have this, we'll analyze rather, or rather try to understand the first phrase, that is previous year. For knowing the previous year, we'll go to income tax department and ask them what is this previous year. Before that, before we ask them, some basic things we must remember, and those things are like this. We people are familiar with calendar year. This calendar year runs from January to December each year. Then second thing, financial year. We people are also aware about the financial year. Rather, we are familiar with financial year. This starts from 1st of April and ends at 31st March on completion of 12 months period. Okay, so we are familiar with these 2 years, that is calendar year and your financial year. But this previous year and assessment year, these 2 years are rather new to us in the sense newcomer to income tax study, that way. So let us ask income tax department what they have to say about these two phrases. For first phrase, that is previous year, they say, please refer to section 3 of Income Tax Act 1961 to have the idea about previous year. Section 3 of the Act. Then for assessment year, they say, please refer to section 2 of the Income Tax Act 1961 to get the meaning of assessment year. So these two sections, section 3 which defines previous year and section 2 which defines assessment years, are very important, as I told you. So let us analyze first previous year. What is this previous year? Previous year and assessment year, one thing before we go ahead, one important thing we must remember, previous year and assessment year. As we have seen, previous year means financial year. Previous year means financial year which precedes assessment year. remember these words. Previous year means financial year which precedes assessment year. This is what section 3 talks about, previous year. This is the definition is given under section 3 of the Income Tax Act 1961, and that definition is like this. Previous year means financial year which precedes assessment year, section 3, note down. Then your what you call assessment year at section 2 of the Income Tax Act says assessment year means the period of 12 months which starts from 1st of April every year. Assessment year means period of 12 months which starts from 1st of April every year. So this is what these two sections have to talk about, previous year and assessment year. If now we will closely analyze these two phrases, and what we find, in previous year there is direct reference to financial year. In previous year there is direct reference to financial year. See, previous year means financial year. See, direct reference. Previous year means financial year which precedes assessment year. So if we analyze this previous year, what we find, in this phrase, previous year phrase, there is financial year. The reference is given to financial year. Then we'll go to assessment year. There also we will find there is reference to financial year. But there is no doubt there is reference to financial year, but the phrase refers to financial year indirectly. This assessment year, that this section 2 refers to assessment year, which means the period of 12 months starting from 1st of April and every year. Assessment year means the period of 12 months which starts from 1st of April every year. So, period of 12 months and starts from 1st April. These words suggest or give reference to financial year. These words give reference to financial year. So, assessment year means period of 12 months which starts from 1st April every year. So, this period of 12 months, remember this, which starts from 1st April every year, which starts from 1st April. So, if you count from 1st April the period of 12 months, then you reach to 31st March, isn't it? It is simple, that simple. You reach to, so this April to March again financial year, you followed. Again it is financial year. In previous year also there is direct reference to financial year. Previous year means financial year which precedes assessment year. Previous year means financial year. That is the direct reference to financial year. Then in assessment year there is also reference, but there is also reference of financial year, but it is indirect reference. Indirectly this section 2 refers to financial year. Section 2 says assessment year means the period of 12 months which start from 1st April every year, period of 12 months which starts from 1st April every year. So 12 months period and starting from 1st April and we accordingly reached to 31st March after completion of 12 months period. So there is indirect reference to financial year in the definition of assessment year, and in the previous year there is direct reference to the financial year. Okay, this is, I think, very important note down. Then after this analysis, we'll go further and look very closely to these two phrases. After looking closely, we have got this information. Both the years, there is reference to what you call financial year. In one definition, there is direct reference. In another definition, there is indirect reference. In other words, both the previous years and assessment year have financial year common in them, or in other words, there is a common factor between these two phrases, previous year and financial year, and this common factor is financial year. In both the terms contain the phrase financial year. So it is interesting. Now we will ask Income Tax Department, when both the phrases, that is previous year and assessment year, have this financial year in common, then why you call one financial year as previous year and why you call another financial year as assessment year? This is a question we are asking the department, and what they have to say. They say, yes, we agree with you. There is a common there is a mention of financial year in both the phrases, that is in previous year as well as in assessment year. We agree with you, and if you ask us why you have given one financial year the name previous year and why you have given the name assessment year to another financial year, for that our reply is like this. First take the previous year. Previous year is very important for us. We treat that previous year as VIP, or rather we give it the importance of VIP. As far as our department is concerned, we give the importance of VIP to this term, previous year. And reason? Because we look at the income of the taxpayer that he has earned during this previous year. So, income is the source of revenue to us. On the basis of income, we take the tax. So, tax is our source of income. That way they say previous year is important to us, and we have given that financial year the name previous year. It is important from this point of view. It gives us revenue, income tax, this previous year. Taxpayer gives information about his income earned by him during this previous year to the department. So department says he gives the details of his income for the previous year. So we get the revenue in the form of tax when we what you call compute his tax liability, or we compute his total income, and then we compute his tax liability with reference to his total income. So this term previous year is important because it contains information about the income of the taxpayer. So it is a source of income to us. So that is why very, very important to us. We are there. We have been created. We have been brought into existence for this purpose only. See the income and tax it. Okay. So that way. Now we'll go to, this is the purpose what they say. Another important thing about what you call this previous year, before we go to assessment year, to know the purpose for which they have given that name. Here we'll have some further analysis about this term previous year. Previous year, as we know, it is a period of 12 months running from 1st April to 31st March, isn't it? So, a taxpayer submits, rather gives details of his income that he earned during the previous year, and the tax department will tax that income, and they get the revenue from that in the form of income tax. Then another thing, suppose you are businessman, and you have not started your business on 1st of April only. There may be cases somebody must have started business on 1st of August. You must have started business in November, like this. So there is no what you call law has not given a specific date any business, to the effect that any business should be started, or one should start his business on this day only. If he misses this date, then next wait up to the next year for the same date, and then start the business. It is not like this. Law doesn't say anything about such thing. Okay. So there may be cases, somebody starts business in June, somebody in August, and somebody in November, like this. So there is no restriction there is no any type of restriction on the people to start the business. So what point I want to actually discuss with you, that normally a taxpayer who has been paying tax for all the past years, or for so many past years he has been paying the income tax to the department, that fellow naturally will show his earning, or total his earning or income for the previous year. That means he will show his income from 1st of April to 31st of March. Like this he will show normally a taxpayer who has been the taxpayer for the who has been taxpayer for so many past years. So he normally shows like this for full 12 months he shows. But a man who starts his business during middle of the previous year, not exactly on 1st of April, in that situation, his what you call his previous year will not be period of full 12 months. Suppose you start business in November, so your what you call previous year period will not be 12 months. It will run from November onwards up to 31st March. So November, December, 2 months, and further 3 months, January, February, March. So your previous year will be of 5 months, November to March, 31st March, 5 months. So in the income tax return, you will show your income for 5 months only, isn't it? From November to 31st March, you will show income that way. For earlier period, there is no income because there was no business at all for you. Your business started from November only, and before that, your business was not in existence. It was not there at all. So naturally, no question of showing anything about the past months, because there is no other income except this business income for you. So this is the important point for regular taxpayer, in the sense a taxpayer who has been the taxpayer for so many past previous years, So naturally his previous year period will be 12 months, April to 31st March. And or a man, a businessman who starts his business in middle of the month, then his previous year will start from the day he starts his business, and that previous year will end on 31st March. And accordingly, one should calculate his previous year period, and he will also calculate his previous year period and show in the document called income tax return to the income tax department. So this is all about your previous year. Now we will move to assessment year. Department says the second financial year we have given the name assessment year. Assessment year. And this is with some definite purpose. We have given the name assessment year to that second financial year with some specific purpose. So that year is very, very important for us, and what you call that also we treat that assessment year as VIP for us, very, very important person or thing for us. So if we ask them what is the purpose, why you give so much importance, or why you have given so different name to this financial year, second financial year. So they say there is some definite purpose, and if we ask definite purpose to them, they say, we have given this name assessment year to the second financial year because we get the sweet things in our hand. We get sweet things in our hand to swallow or take from you. And what is that sweet things they get? They get the income, as I told you, counted in the previous year, in the assessment year after completion of previous year. A taxpayer submits, rather furnishes his statement of income, that is called income tax return, to the income tax department. So naturally they say, this thing in this year, assessment year, we get the gift, we get our very favorite item, that is tax, revenue from Income Tax Act. We have got in left hand, the details of taxpayer's income. In the right hand, we have got the formula to calculate his tax liability. So that is why from that point of view they say for us assessment year is very, very important. And what is assessing year? This previous year is simple, that is the earning year. As far as taxpayer is concerned, he is concerned only with the earning of income throughout previous year. His focus is on earning income. So previous year we can also safely, for our own convenience, we can remember as earning year, income earning year, for our convenience. But technically or law from law point of view, it is previous year. So that knowledge we have got. After receiving this information, Income Tax Department assesses his tax liability. So naturally one will definitely have doubt about what is assessing, and what is assessment, and all these things. So department says, when we get the income information of the previous year from the taxpayer, we assess his income, and we assess his tax liability. We assess his income and we assess his final tax liability. In other words, they say we compute or we calculate his total income for the previous year. By assessing, we mean, remember this thing, we compute his total income that he has earned during previous year. Yeah, no doubt he has shown in the return, but we compute his total income and we compute his final tax liability based on the provisions of Income Tax Act 1961. This is what they say, that is the important. So simply what you call showing of income and showing of some prepaid taxes or some taxes on your own you paid to the department through what you call through filling up some challan, that is not enough. After receiving all relevant information from you, they on their own calculate your total income and they on their own calculate your final income tax liability with reference to the provisions of Income Tax Act 1961. And they are very expert. They are very expert in calculation of what you call this total income as well as computation of final tax liability. So this is what they say, assessment means this thing. Assessment means this thing. And for common understanding, apart from this legal explanation of this term, assessment or assess to assess the income or to assess the tax liability, apart from this legal explanation, for general, this is not connected to our this what you call this lecture, but we must also know what is the general meaning of this assessment or assess. So I will give you one example. A student who writes the exam, who studies in the previous year, who studies whole year, he studies, and after completion of 12 months, there is no doubt exam. He has to give some exam, and some exam board conducts or takes that exam. So he has to write the exam. After writing the exam, the examiner does the work of assessing his answer book. Remember this. General example. The examiner does the work of assessing his answer book. And he does the work of assessing his answer book means what? He gives a mark. He gives a mark to each question with reference to the standard answer supplied to him by the exam board, or with reference to the criteria given to him by exam board. Like this, he will take the help of those materials given by the exam board, and based on those material or criteria or standards, he will assess your student's answer book and give the what you call marks. Okay, this is a way to understand what is assessment and what is the meaning of to assess. So it is that way. Okay. Now, what is why department says this is one thing they have clarified to us to our question, why they have given another financial year the name assessment year. They say important because it is a source of revenue, and we after receiving income information through a document through the document called income tax return, we compute his total income and we compute his total final tax liability. So that way, first justification or some explanation they have given to our question. Then another thing we must remember here, this work of assessment or work to assess total income and to assess final total liability, this work is not routine for them. This is not routinely done by these officers of the income tax department. Then for this work, computation of total income and computation of final tax liability, they select income tax officer. They note down this word. They select some income tax officer, and after selecting that income tax officer, they give him power. They give him power to assess your total income and to assess your final tax liability. They give this special power, assessment power, to that income tax officer. And how they give the power? They issue specific order. They issue specific order, and by that order, they give you that power to assess your total income and to assess your final tax liability. So then that gentleman or that income tax officer becomes assessing officer. His designation is changed. He was previously in basically he is income tax officer, but specially department gives him assessment power. So by virtue of giving this assessment power by issue of order, then he becomes assessing officer. And when he was income tax officer, he was no doubt respected officer. But after getting this what you call this special powers of assessment, he becomes assessment officer, assessing officer, and more respected officer of the department. So suppose you get the chance to meet assessing officer, then see how you stand before him, because he has sent you notice and he has called you, and naturally he is asking you more money in the form of remaining tax. So naturally you will be very submissive. You will give more than necessary respect to him. You will not sit in the chair, empty chair, lying before him without his signal. If he gives a signal, then that much respect he commands. What I am going to say, he commands that much respect. Assessing officer commands that much respect. Okay, so this work of assessing your total income and assessing your final tax liability is done by assessing officer. Okay, so this is about assessment year. Now these two things, what you call previous year and assessment years, they particularly assessment year, this year, it is not only important to taxpayer. It is not important to taxpayer. It is not only important to taxpayer. It is also not only important to assessing officer. It is also not only important to income tax department. It is also important to high courts and supreme courts, and for that matter, as and when disputes, as and when the difference between taxpayer and assessing officer take the shape of dispute, between these two gentlemen, then that disputes become income tax disputes, and that appears in the first in the first appeal. That disputes between these two appears first in the CIT's court, that is Commissioner of Income Tax Appeal. That dispute goes, or rather that CIT authority CIT appeal, that authority looks into the disputes and gives his judgment or order. Okay. The matter may go to tribunal, income tax tribunal. If taxpayer is not happy with the order or judgment of the CIT, then he may go before the income tax tribunal, and he may say to tribunal, this CIT appeal, honorable CIT appeal, has not given me the correct judgment he has made. Actually, as per this section, I should have been taxed. But they have taxed, he agreed with the assessing officer that my income should be taxed under this section. Like this, there are so many types of disputes, hundreds and thousand types of disputes, and both parties fight and argue. This way, that way, this way and that way, and that we must have mercy to honorable judge who suffers in between these two, scratching his head whole life till the completion of his service. And we have got mercy. I particularly have got great respect for them, for their mental suffering. A lot of efforts and mental work they do, so they deserve the praise which we cannot, show in words, or write in words, or speak in words. That I have a lot of respect for all judges, because they do the brain work, and that requires heavy consumptions of blood by the brain, and talks adverse. He talks on one's health also. So a lot of things are there. Okay, so this assessment year is very important to courts also, not only to these other authorities, that is assessing officer, income tax department, then CIT appeal and tribunal, and taxpayer, and your assessing officer. Apart from this assessment year is very important for courts also. Courts decide, read the facts of the case with reference to assessment year. What happened during assessment? What happened during assessment years? What were the facts? What were the things given to his information through income tax report by the taxpayers? What are the things taxpayer has given to the assessing officer through his ITR, and how he has analyzed, or how he understood those facts, and how he applied the rule or sections of the Income Tax Act, and what judgments he has taken into account to come to his conclusion. That way, they will think, courts, based on the assessment. So everything happens. The battle, everything happens in the battlefield. That is where this dispute arises. The place where this dispute arises. Okay. So then this matter travels to finally, if suppose lower officer authorities, courts could not, rather they did their work, but this gentleman, taxpayer, is not happy with those orders and judgments, so he finally, and amount is also very heavy. That his argument is like this: because of the order of assessing officer I have to pay a very, very large amount, which is not at all due from me. So the heavy amount is involved in the dispute. Some crores of rupees, lakhs of rupees. So he is very much worried. So he will every time if he gets the disappointment because judgment order was not in his favor, so he will climb the second step, he will climb the third step, and finally comes to the final rather court, that is Supreme Court. And Supreme Court would take note of all these things and would pass the necessary order. So assessment year, this very important for the courts also. They take into account the assessment year, or things happened in the assessment year, and things done by the income tax department in the assessment year, and things stated by the taxpayer in the previous assessment year. All these statement and all these documents and all these what you call quotation, citation, all these things will become one big bundle, and big bundle will go to all courts, traveling all courts, and reach the what you call Supreme Court. So these words, travel, matter travels to Supreme Court. Then from High Court, matter travel to Supreme Court. See the very good, happy word, matter travel to Supreme Court. This is the words used by the judges. This word is used by judges, and I like it very much. Whenever I read this word, matter travel to Supreme Court from High Court, so I become really happy. Why, I don't know, but I like those phrases very much. Okay, so this is the importance of assessment year also. So we have learned about previous year, we have learned about the assessment year, and both the things are important for all people, taxpayer, assessing officer, income tax departments, and courts. So all these 2 years are very important, and I think I don't think any more thing to be talked on these 2 phrases. I take halt here, and I would return. I will return with new basic things in due course of time. Till then, have a good day, and thank you very much for watching this video.